The format of this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, a 10-minute coffee break, and then a main speaker. Tonight, our first speaker is Brian.
My name is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. And, yeah, I celebrated a year yesterday, so that was cool. Thank you. And one thing, I guess I'm finally okay and proud to say that I love AA. You know, it's given me so much that I can't even express it in words. You know, and I was trying to think about what I was going to say up here, but you know, then you get nervous, so all that goes out the window. But the main thing it's given me that I didn't realize until going through the steps this time is like an identity. You know, and I didn't realize I never had one of those until, you know, like 6 months ago, and I'll try to stay out of the drunk-a-log because, you know, there's only 10 minutes and it's more about hope, you know, and what this thing can do for you or what it's done for me. But I can remember being like, my dad was an alcoholic and so was my mom. They've been sober for like 30 years. So I never wanted to be an alcoholic, you know, I knew that. But I can remember like in third grade, second grade, we would go out to recess and we would like hyperventilate, lean over and then sit up real quick and they'd push on your chest and you'd pass out and you'd wake up all tingly and shit. So, you know, I love that feeling from that moment on. And what's weird is I knew that I didn't want to drink, but I knew that I wanted to do drugs. You know, I can remember seeing these commercials back then. They had that egg in a frying pan one, and these I'd never want to be a junkie when I grew up once, but, you know, I didn't want to be a junkie, but I knew that I wanted to do cocaine and LSD, you know, and I don't know why. But, you know, that was like it. You know, very early. Anyway, so, you know, me and my buddies, we started smoking weed at like, I think I was 8, he was 6, and that just continued on, you know, and I never really, I hear people say that, it doesn't matter what people say, but I felt that if I let people know who I was, they wouldn't like me, you know. I always felt like real secluded, real insecure, and you know, getting high and drunk was a way to get away from that. Once I did that, I felt like I fit in. But I can remember being like 12, 13 years old and wanting to run away. And like this is when Grateful Dead was still alive, and wanting to go follow them around, you know, and just take acid and do shit like that for the rest of my life. But one good thing about not having an identity is when you find something you're good at, you latch onto it. You know, there's pros and cons to that. So I remember being like 12 or 13. And I ran into this wrestling coach, you know, and, you know, that changed my life for a while. I got to do that, you know, at the national level and got to go to college and everything for that. So that stopped my drugs for a while. But that's when drinking came in because I couldn't really take drugs because we got drug tested. But so from that point on, that was like my identity. I remember any paper I wrote or anything I went to identified as a wrestler, you know, which I guess is good as a young kid or an athlete, but, you know, when that's taken away from you or when that's over, you know, then you're left with nothing else and you're stuck again with, like, being lost or something like that. So anyways, I went to Nashville to college, you know, got a scholarship out there, and one thing I noticed about just people in general, I want to generalize and say alcoholics, but also I've learned to hear that there's people out there in the world that don't need this program. There's people that do, but there's also people that are good people out there that get by just fine without having to do these steps to like get God and to find themselves and shit, you know. And so I don't know where I was going with that, but so anyways, anything I ever did, I always did really good at, you know, including drinking and drugging, you know, until it didn't work. But so grades and wrestling, I was really good at, and I remember being like 3.5 years into college, and I was doing good with school, you know, I had like a 3.5 or whatever, and doing good in wrestling, and I just kept getting in small little trouble, you know, nothing big, but we would get drunk on this small campus, and the dean and shit would not like that, you know, because it was like a small Christian school, and so we got all wasted one night and did donuts in the quad, you know, and so that got us kicked out real fast, and that's when I can look back now and realized how I didn't have an identity, because once that was taken from me, it was like just, I don't know, that's when I went downhill real fast, you know, that's pretty pathetic, but I remember coming back to California, that's where I'm from, small town Joshua Tree, and nothing but like with a little duffel bag and some beat up shoes, you know, And I remember thinking that when I left, I had all these hopes and dreams, and when I came back, I was nothing but a drunk. And that was the first time I got introduced to AA. It was 2005. And it stuck for like 5 years, because this program does work, it really does. And did the steps, but then I stopped doing the deal, stopped going to meetings. I did the marijuana thing, which led me right back out, And they don't lie, it does get worse, never better. And I heard a definition of an alcoholic back then that said it doesn't matter, you can philosophize or deep think, whatever you want, or try to, go into too much detail, but an alcoholic or an addict is just simple. It gets worse, never better. Active addiction gets worse, never better. Once you can admit that or realize that, then you got a shot, So that's when enter the hard drugs, Make a long story short, for over the next 10 years in and out of prison, my last prison run, actually my last one I got sober in. My first one I didn't, and it gets worse, never better, Bottom line is I was a prison junkie slamming dope out of a ballpoint pen, that I was bringing back every day in the prison, and I'll just leave it. I wasn't carrying it back in my hand, You can assume how I got it back from there. But that was just the way of life, And I can remember being hopeless, like thinking like, this is all life is, There's never gonna, how am I gonna get a job? How am I gonna support a family? How am I gonna do any of this shit, How am I not gonna be, a piece of crap? And, but I always knew, because I've been to AA before, and I knew that 12 steps will change your life. So, so I got out of prison the last time, 2017, and I moved out here. I just picked it on the map, and actually camped at Watson Lake. I'm a plumber, so I got out of prison, and whenever I stay sober, I manage to do pretty well, like most of us do. So I saved up a bunch of money and just went to Watson Lake, and that was one of the best decisions of my life, because this place is awesome for recovery, I moved out here with a woman, and we were just two alcoholics that weren't working a program trying to like live together, and that doesn't really work too well, at least for us it didn't. But so I stayed sober that time like 2 years, but I wasn't working a program. And my relapses are pretty pathetic this last time, so I don't know, it was like 20 cents of dope and half a bottle of Jack or something, but a relapse is a relapse. So yesterday, I finally decided I needed to start working the steps, and that's really what changed my life. I got a sponsor out in Chino Valley, and he's an awesome man. And I knew I had to do something different, because I could just see how people made, how this made people happy, and I was so full of anxiety, fear, and all this stuff I didn't realize at the time, I just thought that's the way I was supposed to feel. One other gift AA has given me is that anxiety's gone today, for the most part. I don't really know anyone out there, and I'm not too nervous at all, which is kind of a trip, But the gifts that this program has given me is amazing, Obviously the material things are cool too. I'll go briefly into that, but that's not the big deal. I came out here and I was working up at Williams doing this shitty job at a quarry, working heavy machinery, and I got a call from the plumbers union that I applied for like 6 months prior to that. And so making a long story short, back when I was sober the last time, I did a lot of work to get into the union out in California. And it went through, but then I ruined that with everything else. But they took all my credits, and next thing you know, I'm like, the benefit package they're offering me is $2 more an hour than I'm making up there, And I'm in Phoenix taking this test, and I pass, and it's like, I'm sitting at home like tripped the fuck out, like, this isn't really supposed to happen. And it kind of freaks you out, when things go right. I'm not used to that, So all those worries I had about like how am I gonna be able to support myself, support a family, all those things are taken away. Those promises do come true, But I also know if I don't put in the work, that shit goes away. Just like with this program, if I stop doing what I'm doing, that anxiety, that fear, being able to go home at night, that's another gift I got from this program is I go home at night and I'm okay with the person I am, I never thought I'd be okay being alone. When me and my girlfriend split up, she moved back to Texas, I was like freaked the fuck out, like what am I gonna do, blah, 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 boo-hoo. But, through the people in this program and the steps, that's a big deal. The steps really show you who you are and how I acted. And just because I do those steps doesn't mean that that's taken away. Every day I'm presented with the same choices to act a certain way, and I can either try to follow this program or I cannot, you know. And I don't know too much about God's will and my will, but I did know early that God's will was this program. And that if I found a sponsor who had what I wanted, you know, and took his suggestions, it would all work out for me, you know. And it really has. And that's pretty much the one thing I've done right, you know. And this year has completely changed my life, you know. Like, I can't even describe how it is. I mean, my job kicks ass, you know. I mean, I'm a plumber and it kind of sucks at times, but, I mean, for being a plumber, I can't beat it, you know. I go to the doctor, I got my teeth fixed, you know, or I'm in the process of it. I have retirement, but I also, just like this program, know that if I just sit at that, you know, that's not going to be, things will change. Life always changes. So, you know, I've taken the initiative to make sure I keep myself employable, hopefully, through that, you know. Taken a lot of classes that they offer me, and, you know, and I'm looking forward to traveling. I can go anywhere in the country and work for my job, you know. But I also do know, you know, that this program's everywhere. You know, I just got back from Montana to go on a vacation to do some 9-step work with my family, and there's meetings up there, you know. And I'm not one of the people that, this is AA, and AA is my program, but I'll go to any fellowship, you know. Any meeting's better than no meeting. You know, some people are against that, but, you know, I learned early on that the message is clear wherever you go, you know. And some places you go, you know, there might only be the other fellowship or this fellowship, you know. And through my recovery, I've been able to be comfortable in any meeting I go into, you know. But it wasn't always like that, you know. The steps, you know, I can't say enough about them for sure. You know, those things, they make you feel part of, you know. Like, up until I started working them and got through a lot of them, you know, I didn't really feel like I belonged as much as I do right now, you know. And my sponsor, he's an awesome guy. You know, I seen him speak up here a while ago, and, you know, you got to find someone, I don't mean you got to, but it's best if you just find someone you can trust, you know, and if you ask them to take you through these things, and call them, do what they say, you know, they're not going to lead you wrong. And I don't know if you were like me. I know there's a lot of people in treatment centers. You know, my treatment centers were prisons, but I remember just being like, is this thing really going to work? Is it not? And the last thing I'll share that really helped me a lot is, you know, my sponsor always told me to act as if, you know, if I had a problem believing in God or believing anything was going to work, you know, just look around and see the hope, or see how people were doing it, and then just act as if you believe, you know, act as if you have faith in God. And that little kind of mindfuck thing is what we have to do to ourselves sometimes, because, you know, then he hit me with if I'm acting as if I believe, then that's faith, you know. And if I'm acting as if this is going to work for me, you know, that's positive affirmation. You know, it's the complete opposite of what I've done my whole life. And that's what this whole thing is. And it's not easy, like they say, but it's very, very simple, you know. We complicate the shit out of it, you know. That's why we need someone to walk us through these steps, to do them in order and everything. And with that, I'll share. And like I said, I fucking love AA. It has changed my life. And it has taken a long time to get me to the point where I love it, you know. I mean, I get to go to meetings, and those are all my friends, is in some form of recovery or the other, you know. And with that, I'll pass. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian. Let's give Brian another round of applause.